Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Yo, check it out, Rock. The feds is getting ready to take over Rikers Island. They've been trying to do this for 3 years. I got two reputable men here that's been in the system. You know, they're OGs in the game. They're going to let you know what it is. We're going to play a video. But, you know, sit back and listen, and we're going to talk about if the feds is warranted or needed to take over Rikers Island. All right? You know what it is, Unique Mecca Audio, man. I got two reputable men up here. I'm going to bring them up so you know who it is. I got Lou Sims, you know, so we're going to bring the big homie up. All right, tell them who you are and how much time you did and why you warranted to speak on this and why it's so passionate to you.
Well, first of all, I did 5 years in the state, so I experienced the state brutality as well as the federal, because I did 27 years in the feds. But you know, me seeing what them men went through, I went through myself. You know what I'm saying? It's alhamdulillah that I'm still here with good health under the punishment that they did, that I did endure. But you know, like I said, you know, I would like to let the public know that the outcry that we have in there, that we try to cry out and need whether it's their sisters, their assistants coming from legal, as well as let them be known that the abuse that what I'm saying, that we suffer under police the CO's abuse.
All right, now, Mojo, tell them who you are and time you've done so they know why you qualify for this, and hold the camera still. Let's go. Yo, your mic, Mojo, your mic. See, this is why I didn't want it to happen. Your mic. Yeah, your mic is chopping up, Mojo. Your mic is chopping up, but I'm going to start the show, try and fix it. If you got to do whatever, get closer to the building. Let's get this video started. All right, I'm going to take this down. Pay attention to the video.
The moment Carlton James became a quadriplegic, he claims, losing the use of his limbs. He was in city jail in May of 2023, seen an exclusive video obtained by New York One running out of an elevator a short time before. Then, a group of correction officers take him down, holding him there for nearly 5 minutes.
Grab his wrist, grab his wrist.
During the chaotic scene, it is difficult to see what happens. They take him to another area to be searched.
Come on, get on your feet.
Get on your feet.
After that, James, whose arms were rear cuffed and legs shackled, moves his leg towards an officer as he tries to help him with his shoes. They take him down again. The view.
Now, what I want to ask you, right? Have you ever been in that situation? And explain to the people how and why. This is Lou Sims speaking.
Yeah, I've been in multiple situations that occurred like that, and like I said, it's always excessive force. Even when you comply, you know what I'm saying? And as I'm looking at that video, the least movement, whether it's threatening or not, they 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 attempt to apply more force, you know, to take you down or whatever. But like I do want to put on record, like trying to say the topic of this story. That's what made me want to partake in it, because when you go from federal to state, the state police is, like I explained to the feds, the people in the feds, the state whoopings that the police give you in the state is nowhere near what the federal will give you. So with that being said, I know how he lost his limbs because, like I said, they're excessive.
Okay, all right. So let me play the rest of this. Mojo, your hand is over the over the lens on your end.
partially obstructed in the video obtained by New York One. But he appears to hit his head multiple times. And after that, he can no longer support the weight of his own body.
Mr. James was assaulted by corrections officers in the city jails when, as the videos show, he was essentially helpless and trying to follow their orders, and treated so savagely that when he signed his affidavit in our case, he had to sign it with a pen in his mouth because he can no longer move his arms.
All right, so what do you think about that, Lou? How would you break that down to the people? Because we're trying to prevent the youth from even going down this path. And tell them about your program you run in protection and direction.
Well, one of the things I do want to say is that, like I said, I experienced that before. You know what I'm saying? I had got into an incident in Atlanta with an officer, and when they came in on me, the abuses forth. At first, even though I was complied after the incident, the lay down to be cuffed, they still fold my legs back to put my shackles on, put their knee on my neck, which I couldn't hardly breathe. You know what I'm trying to say? And one even put their feet on my head. You know what I'm saying? But even after I was shackled, they still try to pick me up to carry me to um the shoe receiving room, and they repeatedly try to drop me, like with my hands cuffed from behind my back and so they're basically saying that if you're gonna make them do extra work, this is the punishment you're gonna get. You know what I mean? But like I said, I the punishment that I did receive at that time, it was nowhere near the punishment that I received in the state. Like I said, when I was in the state, I received a punishment somewhere near the punishment like Rodney King was getting. I'm talking about COs with them long sticks hitting me, coming from Siberia, hitting me before they placed me in a hole. And when I got in the hole, you know what I'm saying? Before I even seen medical attention, I got in the hole. It was like every time the bunk, because the bunks in Elmira hole, they're connected together by the wall. So every time that man moved on the next side, I was feeling it where I was hurting at until they came and gave me medical attention and um medicine to ease the pain. And my main thing is this, like, me suffering under all them abuse in prison, that was my main thing to get back to when I got home, to reach back to the people that I left behind, to help them with legal or whatever I can do, and or make awareness of this prison abuse. But when I came home, I realized the state that the youth was in, and I was like, maybe I need to attack. Maybe I need to apply all that I can to helping the youth, so they won't get to that stage. Whereas going to Rikers Island or prison and endure that police brutality. But at the same time, it's been like just still seeing this story right here, I realized, I got to also reach back and go with my first plan, because they still is going real hard on the brothers that's still in lockdown. You know, you know.
Well said. Well said. Mojo, here go Mojo. Mojo, what do you have to say about that, your input? 'Cause I know you're having a little technical difficulty. Tell them what you feel about that.
Yeah, like I was saying, my name Mojo, man. I did 4 years in the state and 24 in the feds. The feds is far more brutal. Staff is like a gang over there, man. I got I got keloid chain marks around my waist from the excessive force that they exhibit when they do cell extractions like that. They antagonize that. They if there's some little dispute, a dude may be trying to resolve some food issue or whatever the case may be, man. They be trying to put the suit on somebody's mother, brother, nephew, whatever is right now is suffering. The only cases that seem to make the light of day or that get heard about is the ones where the dude suffers extreme injury, whether he dies, like Victorville, where they ran in his cell and the dude was he backs up and he breaks his neck on the edge of the shower, or it's a common occurrence. Right now, somebody's being tortured by staff. They get these jobs, they get this, they make this pledge that they're gonna uphold the law, but they just break it, man. They use that and then they make it difficult. They write shots in the process of this and saying that we are violated policy to draw on the use of force, meaning that we made some threatening motion, some threatening remark, or something like that to draw on the use of force. They doctor the paperwork, and it's hard for guys like us, because we're convicts, to dispute that. Everything is a sham. It's just a opening for them to beat motherfuckers when they want to. You know what I'm saying? This happens on a regular. This ain't nothing new. The feds taking over the state or Rikers Island ain't gonna do nothing but make it worse. Period. I was in Rikers Island for years. That redirected the lives of many young men. They come there and get beat on by staff who's supposed to be protecting them. They have
Okay,
no
so
faith in the system from that point on, and they end up going down the paths that they go. But they did with a lot of guys in their formative years, and a lot of them guys like Khalif Browder and all of them guys who suffered the effects of Rikers Island. That was directly responsible for the trajectory of these guys' lives. Period. When you come home, you don't have no faith in no police. Have faith in nothing. The police are criminals. They beat on you. They beat on you in groups. They doctor the paperwork.
Okay, all right, listen. So I got a question. You mentioned something that I know my viewers don't know about when you said that when they do cell extractions. Could y'all each give an example? I'm gonna step off and y'all speak and let what a cell extraction look like for the people that never seen it. And that's what that was when they just took them out. But they're gonna break it down in their own words because they had to live through this nightmare.
Well, me, you know, especially coming in the federal system in the early '90s, they changed a lot. You know, I'm trying to say, especially the lockdown. They went from 5 to 10 years to three, from 3 to 5 years, and now it's well, I guess it's like 12 months to 18 months. But all that when I see the feds coming in on the state on the governor of the state now, I see it because in the feds they always had to go through the chain of commands. You know what I'm saying? Anything outside that chain of command, you already know what it is. It's a lawsuit. But they try to follow line to keep it out of a lawsuit. And when I'm seeing from Rikers Island, the CEOs don't care about lawsuits because it's not on them. You know, they just say, well, the state gonna pay for it anyway. But then when it comes to the feds, which I know from my paperwork trying to suing and the feds is that it goes through the chain of command. You can sue the CO individually. You can sue the CO, the captain. I mean the lieutenant, the captain, the AW, the warden, all the way up to that chain of command, and then you can sue them in their whole capacity. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to say is that before, like when you place in a hold or a holding cell and you buck him, they got to go through each change of command. They even got to call a psych out to see your psychotic, see your ability to use excessive force. And when I first came in, after this excessive use of force, they was using drugs to calm you down, to stop you from being that, especially if you use repeatedly. But what I'm trying to say is that they use this before they run in on you, and they try to, keep anything. So I see where the feds is coming in because they go through a chain of command. The state probably wasn't doing that because when I was on Rikers Island, they didn't have no. You got a lieutenant you got a sergeant that was coming in. That was it. They ain't do no chain of command as far as like have the all the way down to the warden. They ain't doing. I guess they ain't doing all that. But after this, the warden and all of them, they don't want to come. They don't want to. They got to call. But at nighttime, they got to call the warden and they got to call the AW and people that's home. You know what I mean? From the lieutenant because the most high you got there is a lieutenant. So now I see why they making it that why the feds was taking over on the state on the over for the state. because now they're trying to put everything in order because they may have got too many lawsuits. You know what I mean?
All right. All right. So Mojo, what do you have to say about that, big bro?
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm
Yo,
saying? Yo,
y'all wanna I
y'all
wanna
wanna
go
I
back
wanna go back
talk about the
talk
mental
about the
health issue,
mental health
right?
issue, right?
Well, Rikers Island city jails across the country, prisons are the new insane asylums. In the 80s, they took out all the insane asylums. That's why there's so much violence in prisons. I don't think the public even is aware of the extent of the violence that occurs behind prison walls. Jail, jails across the country. That's where the mental health patients, it's to the point where they even covering it up. I was in the ADX when they signed the consent decree where the BOP was, the Bureau of Prisons, the Federal Bureau of Prisons was agreeing that they were violating policy by lying and saying that individuals wasn't on medication for the last 20 years just so they could be housed there. And they cut them off cold turkey, and then them dudes end up hanging themselves or killing somebody else whenever the opportunity presented itself. Rikers Island is no different. There's no way in the world that they are addressing mental health concerns on Rikers Island, which leaves a bunch of individuals who have these needs just roaming free and then having to deal with whatever they're dealing with staff. Period.
Period.
Rikers
Rikers
Island is
Island
never
is
going
never
to
gonna change.
change. That needs to
That
happen.
needs to happen.
It needs to
It needs to
close and they
close
need
and
to
they need to
figure out a
figure
new
out a new
solution.
solution.
All right. Let me play the tape and we go a little further. Now.
James is one of several cases highlighted by the Legal Aid Society and lawyers for detainees on Rikers Island as they argued for an independent takeover of the jail system. He is also suing the city. His attorney would not discuss the case with New York One as they attempt to, quote, resolve it. But this story is one of several that led to an unprecedented takeover of city jails.
The court's decision this past spring was historic, and she ruled that New York City can no longer be trusted to manage its own jails and come into compliance with the court's orders.
Mary Lynn Whirlwass was one of several attorneys who argued in court during years-long litigation that the city had to do more to protect detainees on Rikers Island.
So my question now is, how do you feel about the state taking over? Do you think that it's warranted?
It was
It was
warranted,
warranted.
Huh?
but
I'm gonna tell
I'm
you.
gonna tell you.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna
I'm
tell you
gonna tell
like
you
this.
like this.
And he
And
said, he
said
he
it.
put
He
it
put it
right.
right.
You know, the Feds taking over, they're gonna try to do according to the book because of the lawsuits. Everything is about money. You dig what I'm saying? But at the same time, them come like he said, them coming in, it's not gonna change it. You know what I'm trying to say? You know, it ain't gonna change it because Rikers Island been balanced since the early since when I was going as a kid on Rikers Island, the early '80s. It been balanced. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Especially with the COs. Rikers Island, I done been put in the bullpen, you know, the receiving room bullpen, they only gonna hold but so much. I don't see them put a whole house in there where you can't even move. You dig what I'm saying? Just to what they call teaching us a lesson. I done seen all kind of stuff like, you know, so even in the feds, you know, um, they got procedures that they supposed to go by. Even when I done been four-pointed, Fed laying down when they supposed to come get me and get me up every hour to check on me or have me sit up. Even after I got finished eating, they were supposed to let me sit up and digest my food for an hour, but no, they locked me back. They chained me back down. So you got to realize a lot of things I don't witness in there, like people getting the wrong medications, people dying from the same thing I just told you that uh um their food coming up and choking them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see a lot of things witnessed in the feds as well as the state. So for all them doing that, you got in order for them to do that, you got to do a whole new overall on Rikers Island and the feds. You know what I'm saying? All the feds is doing is coming on to try to prevent the lawsuits that, like I said, the lawsuits that's been on Rikers Island because now everything is a lawsuit. You know what I mean? You
You
know,
know.
All right, all right. So you mentioned something. You mentioned four-pointed. Explain to them what 4-pointed is before we go further? 'Cause I know they don't know what that is because we experienced
Well,
it.
when you on a concrete slab that got rings in all four of the corners. They 4 point. They cuff your leg to one of these rings to each one of these rings. You know what I'm trying to say? And you just they you know they don't give you no blanket, no nothing. You butt naked like that. You know what I'm saying? And he just mentioned Lewisburg. Lewisburg was the lowest. I done been in every lockdown, and I can say that Lewisburg and the 2000s was the worst I ever been in because all the COs that was there, they didn't care because where they was saying is that whatever we do to you now, by the time you sue us, they'll be retired. So they didn't have no because um I done had them come in for nothing. You know what I'm trying to say? A man on common fare, which is a different meal than what we get, and he complained about a trade. You know what I'm saying? And saying that I don't want the regular meals, I get this. And they said, well, you ain't gonna eat. So they demonstrate on that. They run they run into us, they run in on us, but at the same time, when they do run in us, like he said he got the belly change, you're gonna be in that at least 24 hours naked with your celly. No mattress, no clothes, no nothing. So that means that if you're on the top bunk, I gotta turn my back to the wall and watch you get up on the until you get up on the back bunk. If you gotta go to the bathroom, you gotta get down. Remind you, you cannot take you cannot release your bowels in there because ain't no way you're gonna be able to wipe yourself. So all you can do is release your urine. You know what I'm saying? So that was the abuse right there. And then they put the belly chain. The reason why he got the keloids around his stomach because when they put the belly chain on, they put it so tight and put the handcuffs on you so tight that by the next morning your hands are swollen up. You know what I'm saying? Your legs are swollen up. So that's one of the abuses that they give you. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm gonna tell you like it's a whole lot of abuse in that I can mention, like Lewisburg. They don't have no kind of central air. You know what I'm trying to say? But in the wintertime, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna open the windows so you won't to stop you from going to showers. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna open the windows so you got to remember once they put you in there and the cages to take showers, everybody got to take showers at the same at that time. Those got to whenever you say you ready, that's when I got to cut off my water and say I'm ready because when we call the police, he got to come get us to take us out. Remind you, the windows open in the wintertime. So all that cold air is coming in after we take a shower. Now all we can go to the shower is your boxers and your flip flops and your towel and your shower bag. Now in the summertime, they close in the winter. They close in the winter. So now it's hot in there. You don't want to, because by the time you take a shower and come out the shower, you get back to your cell, you sweating all over again. So you might as well just wash up in the sink. So that's one of the abuses that I'm telling you that I witnessed in the federal prison. You know what I'm saying? There's so many abuses and like I said, you're gonna have to get even when people come in to look at the jail, they clean it up, try to make it seem like all this ain't going on or whatever like that. But what they need is a somebody, a overseer. That's his job to make sure the job run right. Because if you go from the lieutenant to the captain to the warden and all that, they're not doing their job because you got to remember all of them were COs before. You dig what I'm saying? All of them were COs before, so they went through it already. You know what I mean? You know, so it's so much abuse in that in the jails that you know I don't feel it. The only way they're gonna be able to do that, like I said, they're gonna have to send somebody and watch them to be an overseer there every day or something like that to make sure that it go right.
And that's
You know
what
what I
they
mean?
just said. That's what they're saying now. They're saying that the state needs an overseer to watch the state because the state can't be trusted to watch and monitor themselves. So that's what you're saying, right?
Right, as well as the federal system too, because like I said, all the prisons is the same, man. It's not a coincidence that every 5 to 10 years a CO get butchered because they do. Like I said, it's a lot of abuse. I don't seen them violating religious stuff like Qurans or prayer rugs. You know what I'm trying to say? When searching their cells and stuff like that. I don't see them bring the dogs in. A dog go in your cell. They defecate on your bed or on your thing. They don't come in to clean it up. That's up to you to clean up. But you know what I'm saying? But that's all the abuse that they don't care nothing about. Like you treat it like an animal in there. You know what I mean? You
You
know?
know. All right, let's see what else they got to say. They speak on a couple more people. One that committed suicide, he jumped off a tier, and another one that they left him bleeding for 3 hours internally in a cell after he was jumped in a holding cell.
Earlier this year, federal judge Laura Taylor Swain agreed, saying she would appoint an independent remediation manager to take over much of the system. She is currently considering several candidates in a sealed court process. New York One obtained body camera and security footage of 5 incidents that led to this decision. Incidents that were initially called out by the jail's federal monitor in 2023, saying they raised serious concerns about the department's ability to safely manage the individuals in custody. They include the James incident, a suicide in a mental health unit, and several occasions where officers allegedly ignored detainees' medical issues and injuries. New York One filed a Freedom of Information law request for these videos in 2023. The Department of Correction gave New York One this footage over the course of 2 years. In response to this story, a spokesperson for the Department of Correction said, under Commissioner McGinley-Liddy, we have made tremendous progress moving this agency forward from years of instability and remain laser focused on keeping those who work and live in our facilities safe. There is no doubt there is more work to do, but we are seeing improvements both in the data and in the day-to-day functions. Our city and those who work and live here deserve no less. In its response, the department highlighted changes it has made to training, recruitment, and expanding the use of body cameras. It did not answer New York One's specific questions about these cases. In the course of this reporting, we asked the Department of Correction for interviews multiple times, and they declined. We have also asked multiple times to visit Rikers Island, but we were told no. Attorneys for detainees and the federal monitor have said these incidents are emblematic of a chaotic Rikers Island in need of more federal oversight. Cut to May 2023. A very crowded intake pen on Rikers, where some have been waiting for days to be admitted. That included Daniel Cruz. Cruz was in the back of the video and, according to the Rikers Federal Monitor and his attorney, repeatedly assaulted by other detainees. He is taken out of the intake area in clear distress, struggling to get down the hallway. But then Cruz is left in another cell for at least 3 hours, naked and in distress. He was eventually transported to the hospital where he needed to be intubated, had internal bleeding, multiple rib fractures, and a ruptured spleen that had to be removed. He is suing the city.
So what do you think about that, Lou? That incident there, as far as them, after he getting jumped in a holding cell, they wound up putting him in another cell, left him butt naked in there, and he was internally bleeding. Have you seen situations like that, and how do you think they should have handled it?
One of the things I can describe to you is that that's one of the tactics that they use. They strip you butt naked, and sometimes they'll leave you in shackles, and sometimes they won't. They'll just leave you in there without the shackles. But that's one of the tactics that they use, I guess, really to break you. But at the same time, they put you in another cell. It's not them doing their job, because where where I see things like probably that happened with that case right there, a change of shifts. You know what I'm saying? It happened at 1, 2 o'clock. They leaving it for the next shift to come over and handle that stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to remember, it's a lot of paperwork. They got to find housing for them and all the rest of that stuff. And then they got to, see what happened with the other individuals that was involved, assaulting them and all that stuff. So, you know, it's a part of that. That's what I'm saying. When you come to these COs, the way I see it is that a lot of them dudes be like, a lot of them dudes, nobody on the street, was nobody in school. They, I'm trying to say, probably was getting beat up or whatever. So now they get to take it out on them. But a lot of them be lazy too. They come in and think they want to have a straight, calm 8 hour shift. That's understandable. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, that's what you want. But at the same time, you got to do your job. So a lot of times, like even with the person that jumped off the chair, you know what I'm saying? That could have been a mental health person the the psych there overlooked. You know what I'm trying to say? Thinking, okay, he all right, just give him some medication. You know what I'm saying? Or he don't need no medication when he asking for his medication. So it's a lot of things that's overlooked. when it comes to the staff. And like I said, if they had an overseer to make sure that the prison was running right, instead of letting those that's coming there, that's been working there, as far as like the captain, the sergeant, whether it be a sergeant or lieutenant or the regular COs, you know what I'm trying to say? It might help, but like I said, for since I've been going to jail since the early '80s, nah, you know what I'm saying? I don't have no good history for like in prison.
All right, well said. Now, this is the young man who they left bleeding in the cell for 3 hours before they gave him medical attention. Lawyer speaking on what went down.
His attorney.
Instead of being taken with obvious injuries to medical, he was left in a cell. He was transferred to a cell and left there for hours and hours with internal bleeding. During this time, his injuries continue to get worse. His case is an example of how people are treated at Rikers Island, and that's really with a lack of care.
In a statement to New York One, Cruz said, "They were supposed to protect me, but instead I got jumped and hurt real bad. I was bleeding, in pain, and asking for help, but nobody came. They left me naked in a cold cell for hours, like I ain't even human." In another incident, a detainee, Rubu Zhao, was on a mental health unit on Rikers and is seen jumping to his death on the floor below. A State Commission on Correction report from earlier this year said there were inadequacies in the psychiatric and mental health care provided to him, but much of the report is redacted. The healthcare provider for Rikers Island told New York One it disagreed with this finding, and after conducting a quality assessment review, found the care provided to the patient was, quote, appropriate.
We are running Rikers Island.
All right, before Mayor get a chance to speak, what do you think about that? Because you touched on that, Lou, about the young man jumping off the stairs. How do you think they handled that? And how do you think they talk about they did exclusive in-depth review and found that he got adequate care? Speak on that so people understand.
Like I said, in some cases they deny you medication. In some cases they give you the medication. In some cases where people be in a mental state and they've been on medication since the beginning, like since they was kids, they try to downplay it and don't get any medications when they know that these medications is what keep these people calm. But then you got these people that they feel is violence. They'll give these medications to try to calm the violence in them down. You know what I mean? So you might have a person that you see as active right now, then the next day you might see him, you be like, man, he moving slow. You know what I mean? Because back then, they had the Thorazine and all the rest of that stuff. You know what I mean? So when I say this to say that, that's the psychiatrist negligence when it comes to certain things like that. And then you got to remember when you in a on a unit, far as like that, the security is more tight because most of the time they put you in a glass cell where you got somebody watching over you 24 hours, especially if you're suicidal or if you know what I'm saying. But that's, like I said, that's their negligence. If the psych have recommend that, that's what they would have had to do. So it's a lot of negligence for like on an institutional period. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's lazy staff or staff that you know what I'm saying, they got degrees and certificates for this and this and that, but they don't apply that. You know what I'm saying? They think everything is a sham in there because they're a sham. You dig what I'm saying?
All right, so now we're gonna have the mayor speak. Thank you, Lou. I think you're doing an excellent job.
Well, thank you.
And we could continue to move it forward. And Rikers Island has been a problem for decades. 3 years and 9 months, we have made great strides. We should be able to continue the job.
The city continues to fight the appointment of this independent manager, commonly referred to as a federal receiver, in court. Still, numbers show there are more stabbings and slashings on Rikers than there were when court oversight was initially installed a decade ago. The use of force by corrections staff is also worse than when this lawsuit started. It's for these reasons, attorneys argue, Rikers is more dangerous now than it was before, and a federal receiver is necessary.
And someone who sees that there's an opportunity here to cut through some of the morass and some of the New York City politics that have made Rikers Island a quagmire and I would say, laughing stock of the United States, if in fact it weren't so shameful.
Now, so what do you think about that, Lou? We just did a whole commentary. What do you think they could do to better this situation, being that you have been in that situation?
Like I said, they're gonna have to tear everything out and build everything up. You know what I'm saying? That's like I said. You know, me me being a how you say it, a product, or being institutional since I was a kid. You know, I ain't seen no change. You know what I'm saying? 5 years state, 27 years, and I still can't tell you nothing good about being in prison. So, like I said, all I can say is that they need an overseer to, you know what I'm saying? And one thing about close quarters, and especially when things are territory, it's gonna always be, I'm trying to say, a state of violence. But between men, I'm trying to say, they keep it down. But this ain't about the violence inmate on inmate. So they talking about the stabbings. We're not even talking about that. We talking about police brutality. You know what I mean? Their excessive force on the inmates. That's what we talking about right now, because you know they're the overseers. You know what I mean? The runners of the jail. But it's like, it's either do or the don't. You know what I'm saying? You either, what I mean, whatever you do in there, you subject to get hurt by one of them. You know what I'm saying? Not one of them. They coming in with a team. You know what I'm saying? So this is the thing that we talking about right now. We ain't, so the mayor talking about the stabbings. You know what I mean? But we ain't talking about the stabbings right now. We talking about why the feds is coming to take over the state. You know what I mean? We talking about the police brutality. How can we fix that? Because, like I said, it's a lot of it. You know, it's a lot of it.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to thank you for coming. Like I said, you did an excellent job. And right now, I want to promote our brother's book.
I want to thank you for having me on there, but I wish you would have had me more prepared for this, because you just woke me up out my seat. I mean, coming from the gym and everything like this, it just put me right on here like that.
All
So
right,
you
well, I
caught
can
me
do
off
that.
guard,
That's
but
what I do.
okay.
That's
I'm
what I
good with
do.
it, but I'm hoping I can make what I'm saying, get especially the people in society to realize what's going on behind these bars. You know what I mean? Because it's going to continue to be the same way. And it's going to be the cover up. Even when you hear the mayor talking about, he talking about stabbings on Rikers Island, but what about your staff? You dig what I'm saying? So that's what it is. You know.
Well said. But again, this is our brother Leonardo Casico, aka Jimmy Fingers. This is his book. Please go cop his book. Lou Sims also wrote a book. This is his brand logo. This is his shirt. Go look on the website, House of Casico, and represent the brother. And Lou, let them know they could scan the QR code that we getting ready to play on the outro. We get ready to go off. We're gonna do another one where Lou is better prepared, as he said. But I called him because I was really excited about bringing this story to you, and I couldn't think of anyone other than the big homie, because he's ran cars on the compound and different scenarios happen. Now, when something like this happen and you're on the compound and the word come out the shoe that they're treating one of the brothers, you know, from New York, that they put you in charge of because you're the big homie and you make rational decisions for the men. Um, how does that play out so they can understand that before we go out?
You already know how, I'm not gonna say you already, I'm saying how it goes, but those that don't know, certain things like this, we marching on administration. And that, if the CO's got out on one of the homies or something like that, we want to make sure his health is well, that he got medical attention and everything. Meaning that, okay, if you saying that he in a hole, we want to go see and make sure he's healthy, and what I'm saying, his medical attentions had been attended to, and you know what I'm saying, basically found out what's going on, whether he in medical or not. You know what I'm saying? Because that can cause a full blown riot too. You dig what I'm saying? Because we lost a lot of people with stuff like that where people had died. You know what I'm saying? So, and I look at it as me being myself. I don't want to be in that position, and you know, trying to say, and the homies don't come check on me. So that's one of the main things that when you're on the compound, you know you're gonna govern on that. If they get into it with the staff, and the staff, you know what I'm saying, before this thing go off, you know what I'm saying, if you saying that he all right, let me see him to make sure. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Instead of hearing about it in the news that something that he died or something like that.
All right. So if anyone want to be on the show to tell their story or whatever, the number is on the screen. I'm going to go on the outro. You can scan the QR code coming up on the screen to buy Lou Sims' book. You want to tell them something about your book? Remember, you can scan the QR code. I finally got my brother up here to promote the book. The book is fire. Tell them about the book, Lou.
It's called Once Upon a Time in Harlem. You know, it's an outline of my life, like especially when I was my incarceration, the when I went through, far as like it got some of the stuff that I've been through when I was in society before my incarceration, and it got a lot to do with my case, far as like why my case was a political case, and certain people in and the political world has played a major role in my sentences and my case back then.
Okay, so now we're going to tap out. Make sure you cop my man's Lou book. The QR code on the screen worked. I took my personal time to build this video for my brother because the book is fire and we all trying to win. All right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Ayo, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself linked in. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio.